All right, everyone, welcome back. Another episode of Noble with Noble. This is episode 18, and today we got a very special guest. We got Tony Downey. Tony, welcome.
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
So Tony actually had me on his podcast a couple weeks ago. It's coming out soon. It's not out yet, but I really like what he's doing for a job. He's got an app, and you know what? I'll let you talk about it. Tell us a little bit about it, because I'm inspired. Like I don't get inspired by too many things, but I feel like this is such a relatable tool for me when I was a kid and growing up and trying to find jobs. So we'll
appreciate it.
Talk about it.
Yeah, well, I'm Tony Downey, aka Mr. Good Vibes. That's been my stage name. To put it simply, right now I'm the CEO of Jobify, and that's a tech company that helps teenagers get entry-level jobs. As a spin-off to that, we have a new product we're beta testing. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say on camera right now by the time this goes out, but it's something called Pathfinder AI. It's our next tech tool, artificial intelligence, as the name suggests, that can reverse engineer any career a young person might want to get into, plus the localized opportunities on top of that. So if you're 14 in high school and you say you want to be a firefighter, now let's say you live in Florida, the opportunities around you, whether it's job shadowing a firefighter, what courses to take, the schooling, certificates, first aid training, whatever you need to get into that path, it's going to be within seconds at your fingertips.
That's smart.
So it's something we're working on. It's being beta tested right now, and just have a lot going on. But I like to do things that solve problems that the youth are facing right now.
Yeah, that's good because a lot of people want to solve problems for not normal people, but older people,
like the adults. Yeah,
adults, people who are living their daily lives to help them out, but you're targeting towards kids or teenagers, which I think is such a good idea because when I was a kid, like I'm growing up, you're trying to find part-time jobs and you're applying to places at the mall or you're applying to like other random spots. And it's just like, it's hard for you to compete with someone else trying to find a job because you don't have experience, you're young. And, someone who owns a store, might be a store manager, may not trust someone who's...
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. That's why we created a tool just meant for them. I think we have 80,000 jobs on the platform across North America right now, and it's just for teenagers.
That's great.
Like the companies we post for, it's minimum wage, right? It's entry level. It's meant for teenagers.
Yeah. So how did you start Jobify?
I started about a year and a half ago. I was doing a lot of public speaking. So I was touring the high school sponsored by Burger King and Dave & Buster's, great partners of mine. And I was touring North America doing these Good Vibes talks. That's how I got my stage name. And I was basically inspiring students through my story to like go out there, work hard, but doing it in a cool way. Sometimes you'll get speakers coming to your school and it's like, don't do drugs, kids. And that's like their whole talk.
Yeah, and then the kids still do that.
Yeah, they're like, okay, buddy, you're like 60 years old, whatever. So I was doing it because I'm 24 right now. So when I started, I was like 21, 22. And I was very relatable, still kind of relatable to the youngins. And I came with a message that was different energy. I'm playing music there. I'm bringing guitar on stage, throwing out free Whopper coupons, Xboxes, PS5. Like I made it a show. And when I saw the impact with that, the teenagers were asking me, okay, cool, motivation's great, but how do I make money? Because we all need money, right? And I said, well, what about Indeed? And a lot of them were saying, well, those platforms aren't meant for me. Like it's hard. I'm lost using them. I said, okay, well, someone's got to do something. And I didn't have a tech background, but I'm the type of guy like, I'll figure it out. So I figured it out. I learned enough. I disappeared for like 3 months. I learned enough to get our first product into the market. And then now I have a team obviously around me.
And how did you do that? How did you go from, because I'm the same, I wouldn't know how to start an app. I wouldn't know how to, like you
there's
found
so many
problem,
courses online, bro.
Yeah.
There's Udemy, there's YouTube. I'm just spending hours just reading, listening, watching, calling up mentors of mine who've sold tech companies for tens of millions of dollars. Like, I want to learn this, I want to learn it now. But I came with that energy, like I'm hungry, and people respect that. So I think if you want to learn anything, it's out there nowadays, school or not.
Okay, so what about, so you mentioned Indeed, right? So Indeed, you can go out, find a job, and, they'll get back to you. They may not get back to you. I've done, I've gone through it where I've applied to hundreds and hundreds of jobs on Indeed and not found anything, or I'll get someone message me back and then, it's like 1 in 100, and then, you get an interview process and it doesn't go well, so you're back to the drawing board. What's different about Jobify that has made it more successful than using another platform?
For sure. It's a good point. One thing we invented was the fast hire. So the fast hire is where our company partners will prioritize their listing. And the fast hire is branded a certain way. It's blue, it's shiny, it's in the app. And psychologically, the users know if a company's posting a fast hire because they pay premium for that slot, they're hiring now. And a lot of companies coming out of the, I don't know if I can even say it on YouTube, but like, because censors, like pandemic, coming out of the pandemic, I don't know, like, I've seen some videos where it gets censored.
You'll be fine.
What we went through the last couple of years, this world instance. And so we had it prioritized for certain companies. And when they're listed there, let's say Foot Locker wants to do a fast hire, 50% of the applicants are getting jobs within 2 weeks when we post a fast hire. So it was tremendous success rates compared to other platforms. And we noticed that, so we started adding more prioritized listings to make it faster. But all in all, like, I don't want to sell a false dream. Not everyone's going to get a job, right?
Of course not.
Like, it's very hard. There's supply and demand. That's why something else we created was an educational platform we call Jobify Premium that shows users how to have side hustles aside from just going to work a cashier job. So let's say you're 15 years old and you don't want to go work at McDonald's. Well, I said, okay, well, there's a bunch of other stuff you could do. You could flip free stuff on Craigslist and Facebook and eBay. You could go thrifting and flip that. You could start a landscaping little side hustle in your neighborhood, snow shoveling. There's so many different things you could do. We taught them how to freelance, video editing skills, like basic. Graphic design is another good freelancing tool. So we're teaching them, you could either go work minimum wage, you could go start your own thing. And we're just trying to solve any problem in that sphere.
That's good that you have the the ability to do both, right? Like the thought process of, we're not only focused on jobs, we're focused on, even if you can't find that job, what else can you do? So with that side part, with the side hustle, how does that work? So if I'm a teenager and I want to go on and, maybe I don't want the minimum wage job and I want to do that side hustle, what's that process like?
I guess the best way to put, I don't want to call it a course because I don't want to make it seem like one of those things online. But it's an academy. The best way to put it's an academy. Our slogan is, we teach you what high school doesn't. High school it's not able to teach you all the things that maybe will help you make money right away. They're teaching you stuff that's meant for your career 10 years from then. So what we looked at was like, what can high school not teach? Financial literacy. What do you do when you get that money? We're not financial experts and we have partners who speak on certain topics, but we know what to do with money because we've done well for ourselves. So do you invest certain money here, there, elsewhere, real estate, stock market, whatever, right? And the academy works, they sign up, it's $10 a month. It's very affordable. The reason we even put a price tag was when you're not paying for something, you're less inclined to take it serious. So I said, $10, they'll spend that at McDonald's. I think actually a combo at McDonald's is like $12 right now.
It's so much more expensive than it used to be, yeah.
So I was like, they got to pay something so they show they're serious. And we beta tested that with about 800 people of our user base just to start locally. And we were like, okay, well, this is a business model, right? You have a certain amount of people paying $10 a month, it adds up and you get more people. So I was like, the academy could work because teenagers are interested in side hustles and having something aside from just working a cashier job. And it's very easy. I'm teaching lessons, there's courses, there's breakdowns on like, if you're starting from zero as a teenager, no money, no network, what do you do from this point? And we make content around that. They'll send me questions. I'll answer those questions. They'll say, okay, well, I tried this and I didn't get any customers today. Then I'll be like, well, did you try and go knock on 8 more doors before you gave up? Or did you just knock on 2 and call it a day? And then I'll tailor the message to whatever the question is. But it's very educational.
Yeah, that's good because, that's something that I feel like I would have needed as a kid. And for people who are listening, if they have kids who are, who might be teenagers growing up, this is a great way for them to, find that first job because, even for you, you went out and you started all these like little side hustles, and it's something that people don't really think about, but the fact that you've gained success from building these apps is huge. So like, is it $10 for like the normal Jobify and?
No, Jobify is free. So just to avoid any confusion, Jobify is totally free for the user. The academy is where there's a premium. That's why it's Jobify Premium. If they want to do side hustles, because we're making them immediate money. We have a track record of you come in here with $0, zero network, you're going to start making money a week from now if you follow the advice. And that $10 is going to be nothing. So that's the premium part. Like any other platform that has a premium subscription, there's a free part, there's a premium part.
Okay. And then when you started this, have you gained a whole bunch of success from teenagers downloading the app? Like, how did you reach out to people? I know you said that you started off by talking at high schools and whatever, but now you're at a point where, instead of you working for Burger King or whatever, where you're promoting, how did you go about and promoting it to teens?
It's another good question. I think we started, high schools gave me a good start because obviously having a network of schools, I could call school boards and say, we have this tool launching, like, would you want it for your students? That's a head start. That's part of our moat, right? A lot of people who want to start something like a Jobify, if they don't have that, it's going to be harder to get off the ground. So that was part of our initial go-to-market strategy. Then what really catapulted us a couple weeks ago to getting in the top 10 in our category in the App Store was social media, digital, because you can only do in-person presentations. Like I got to book flights, I got to book hotels, car, like it's a lot of logistics. So we took our model digital after we found the base of getting the in-person stuff going. And through TikTok mostly, to be honest, no influencers, no ads, just straight organic content. It was relatable and digestible. And yeah, we were getting millions of views there and we just catapulted in downloads and word of mouth spread and it was just booming from there.
Yeah, TikTok's probably the best place for you because, you know,
they're young.
Yeah, LinkedIn is more for adults. Facebook, I guess, is also for adults now. Instagram is a bit younger, but TikTok is such a good way for you to find people because, you know, a place like Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn, you have to have someone as a connection for them to see that video, pretty much, like 90% of the time. But TikTok, you can find anybody. So
yeah, most of our people were new.
And because they're teenagers, most of the people using the app, it's super relatable.
Yeah.
So when you started the app, how did you get companies to go on your app and put their stuff for hire on there?
Well, I was connected to a few brands through consulting and sponsorship deals. I just had a network. So I had a network on both sides, one on the school side and then the other on the corporate side. So I was fortunate in that regard. I structured my career a certain way, but it was word of mouth. Like once you get success for one client, then the next one's like, hey, Tom, down the street, like you should use this thing. It's working. Because coming out of the worldly event we had over the last couple of years, it was tough for a lot of companies to hire. There was a labor shortage. So the timing of launching Jobify lined up with where the market was. And we're seeing like minimum wage jobs are hard for adults to want to get into. They want more extra benefits. Like it was perfect timing. So when we launched with a solution, there were small businesses who wanted to use us. There was big box companies who wanted to use us. And the word of mouth was good for us. And obviously we could keep expanding, but that gave us a good base.
Okay. Did you have problems with companies saying, hey, like, I know your product is only for teenagers. We don't necessarily want teenagers to be the only people applying because maybe we want someone who's in high school or in university or someone who's out of university. Did you have problems finding clients who were okay with only teenagers applying through your app?
Of course, there's companies that wouldn't want just that demographic, and that's okay. But we were very niched with our approach, and sometimes the money's in the niches. So we went with who will pay for this? Well, there's grocery stores who need someone to push the cart and cashier. There's retail, there's food and bev, there's hospitality. So we went with these are big chains. It might not be every company we could provide just teenagers for, but there's a lot of franchises who have hundreds of locations. If they're benefiting from it, that's a big enough market for us. And we went with that approach instead of just trying to capture everyone.
Okay. And what has been the best trade that's got like a bunch of hires? Like what category? Because I don't want to say specific stores, right?
Grocery stores were good for us.
Yeah.
Grocery stores. Yeah, it doesn't even come close. Grocery stores, because their turnover is so high and they need part-time workers. So grocery stores were big. And teenagers like working. I found that they like working at the grocery store. It's chill. It's like, it's not too intense.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess they can do it just after school for a little
easy.
bit. It's not, do it on weekends. And,
exactly.
You're not locked into doing it like all day. So
I found with food and bev, like working at a fast food spot, it's very intense. Like they're making fries, flipping the burgers. They got 20 orders coming in 5 minutes. Like it's intense. So the grocery stores were just chill, and that's why they had a lot of success.
Right, and it's good for transferable skills too for both. Right, I guess that's what
they come to Jobify, right? It's not just about working a minimum wage job as us adults will see it, but for them, it's like they're entering the labor force. Now they got some money to pay for. Do they want to pay for piano lessons, football academy? Did they just learn how to talk with a customer for the first time that they won't learn in school? Did they learn how to get their first paycheck and save and invest? Like they learned a lot of things.
Yeah. So what was your first job?
The first job I had, I quit within my first day.
Okay.
It was when I was 13. I was working at the X. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it's like theme park kind of.
Yeah, it's like a 3-week.
Yeah. I was working at the X. I got my job there. I was like 13, and I was a weird young kid, man. I went home and I told my parents, I said, this isn't challenging me. I'm just handing out tickets. Like, can I do something? I don't know how I was wired that way. I'm trying to remember. But then my dad gave me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is like a business type book. And I read it within like 2 days. Like I was hungry for knowledge. And after I dropped the book, I said, okay, I'm going to start my first venture because now I understand how money and entrepreneurship works. I can't go back. And before that, before I started my first business after reading that book, I got a sales job. So my first technical job that I worked longer than a day was a sales job. And I was knocking door to door for a company called College Pro Painters.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who runs one of the College Pro.
It's interesting,
like
business
window
model.
cleaners, right?
Yeah. So for context, like I was knocking on doors trying to get clients for this painting business, and I would knock on just local in the neighborhood. And it took me a couple hundred houses before I got my first sale. But when you're 13, at least I didn't care as much about rejection. It was a great way to grow up not caring about rejection anymore because I was doing it at 13, knocking on all these doors. And I finally got one customer who said yes. And it was a guy who looked at me and said, "How old are you, kid?" I was like, "Oh, I'm 13 right now." He's like, "You're 13 and you're doing this." And I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Why don't you just go work some regular job?" I was like, it's boring to me. He's like, "You're going to go places, kid." He's like, "If you want, you could come work for me." And he ran like some I don't even know the full details, but it was something complicated. And after I had that experience, I was like, maybe I could take these skills and have my own thing. Because I saw this guy, he had his own thing. It looked sick. He was driving a nice car, big house. It's like, interesting. So I was exposed to that. And then I just went around my neighborhood and started knocking on doors saying, "Hey, can I cut your grass for $20? And once again, a couple dozen said no, boom, finally got my first one, scaled that, hired my cousin to come work with me, grew that a bit. I made my first $10,000 as a 14-year-old in the summer.
That's crazy.
Because then we started doing like interlocking, like it just got crazy. And I was like, yeah, I'm never working a regular job again. Like entrepreneurship's my thing. I don't even know if I'm going to end up going to school fully. But that's a whole other story that probably.
And for you to do that for me, I couldn't even imagine making $10,000 at 13 years old. It's like, it's not, not that I'm not wired that way, but like I didn't have that hustle, way back then. And then now I'm like, it's been like 13, 14 years since then. And now I'm door knocking, right? That's what I have to do for my job. I got to go out, and I know it's a bigger scale than
just
cutting
some grass,
grass. But being able to go out there, knock on people's doors, talk to them, and have that conversation, because, like you said, you got to knock on like 500, 600 doors, 700 before like maybe one person comes and says okay. But how many people want to move right now? Right? Like no, like you're gonna knock on someone's door. I'm not gonna knock on your door and say, "Hey, sell your house to me right now." Right? It's more about building that relationship and like
going we were talking about this.
And, it's like it's so much different, but it's the same
skills, right? Same hustle.
And even for you to do it at 13, 14, like I don't want to say I never could have done that at 13, 14. I probably could have, but it was never a thought to.
I was exposed to it. That's why I read the book. My father put me in certain things. He didn't force me. Because I was playing, soccer's been a big part of my life. I got D1 scholarships, like 7 D1 scholarships, full ride. So I didn't only have business going on. I had soccer I was trying to juggle too with school. But I ended up choosing entrepreneurship, obviously, where we're at now. But when I was young, I was just exposed to a lot. Like my father put me in public speaking classes when I was 12. And a lot of it was because of he had me when he was 18. My mom and my father, they had me when they were 18, so young. And I guess a lot of the things they necessarily weren't able to do because they had me so young. They're like, well, if we couldn't do it, we're going to get you into it. And if you like it, you could pursue it. And now they're doing amazing for themselves. They travel, they're living that like good life, right? But it was a grind for them. And I've seen it and I witnessed it growing up. And I'm super grateful for how they sacrificed so much for me to be able to get a shot at doing what I want to do.
Right. And at the same pace, like, not that they're living their lives through you, but I'm sure they're so much happier seeing you succeed and helping you find something that you love that is going to propel you for the rest of your life. Right?
Yeah, they're happy, right? Every parent wants their kid to grow up happy, doing what they love, etc.
Yeah, and everyone does it at a different time, right? Like, most people don't know what they want to do until they're even past university. Like for me, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew I was going to be in graphic design at a certain point, and then it got to a point where I was like, hey, well, I'm falling out of love with this, and I know like my family, my friends, like I wasn't working for like a year and a half, and I was like, what do I do?
Yeah,
I have no idea what I want to do. I'm stuck. I didn't like what I was doing. Like I saw myself in this career, but then when I wasn't working, couldn't find a job, it was it's hard, mentally hard to figure out if that's something that you want to pursue for the rest of your life. And then I kind of stumbled upon real estate, and it took me so much longer to figure out that like this is what I want to be doing, and I'm going to be able to do it for the rest of my life. And for you to find out that young that your parents supported you the whole way, right? Like you said that you dropped out of school at 14.
Don't get me wrong. You drop out on a full ride scholarship, especially with ethnic parents, you're gonna have a battle at home. And it wasn't like I dropped out and it was all roses. Everyone around me was like, "Oh, good job, you dropped out." Like it was not like that at all. I think the hardest part for people listening, and I know it's an older audience, so it might not be as relative to when I speak to the kids. But when I speak to the kids, I tell them just because I dropped out doesn't mean go drop out tomorrow. It's very hard. Like I just spoke at a university 2 days ago, and that was the first thing I opened with. Don't listen to my story and think you need to go follow the same path, because it was very hard. I was selling T-shirts out of my trunk to survive. I was eating off the dollar menu at McDonald's, sleeping on friends' sofas, and I lost my girlfriend. Like everything was going wrong, where the average man would just be like, "Man, F this, I'm going to work a regular job." So it was a grind trying to figure out, how do I go from being a dropout with no plan, just having a T-shirt brand at the time. I was just selling T-shirts branded Good Vibes, campus to campus, to like where I'm at now, running tech companies and whatever I'm doing, right? And it's just going from that phase to here. People have no idea what really goes into the behind the scenes of that.
And so what is the most challenging thing for you when you're starting up these jobs or these apps?
That's a good question, man. That's because there's so much, right? There's so much that...
I mean, you could touch on a few things, but just, anything that will say, like, for someone who wants to start up an app or wants to go and do things, right? Like you said, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. There's obviously something that, like, a lot of challenges you have to go through, but a lot of people don't know and they can't think about what that hardest part is. So,
okay, I'll touch on a few. I think the team, because as a leader, you're motivating people to follow your vision and your leadership and your goals. So you have to be able, if you're starting anything, if you're going to be the leader, you have to get people motivated behind the common cause. And with some people, the hardest part is, I say as entrepreneurship, is the people. Because you have to get people motivated, whether it's by money, whether it's by, like, some guys I know, they're motivated by just the lifestyle. Like, they want to be around girls, they want to be in the clubs. I'm like, okay, cool, bro, you close some deals, let's go. I don't even care about that stuff, but I know my team does, and that's what motivates them. So I have to tailor my being to all these different people. I got some girls I take girls who work for us, totally platonic, just, let's go to dinner. You did amazing, you're doing your job, let's go to dinner, it's on me, drinks, whatever. Then I'll take some guys, be like, okay, well, this guy, I know he likes playing sports, cool. I got you the latest gear, like, you're taken care of, are you happy? Like, you just have to find what motivates your team. So that's very hard, because as you grow your team, there's a lot of people to cater to. Some people, they're not as incentivized, right, as you, as the owner. Let's say you own 90%, 95, 85% of the company. You have the biggest return if that company gets acquired for $100 million. Them working just a salary, or maybe they're on a little bit of equity, you can't expect them to be as motivated as you. You're the boss for a reason. So you have to find the little things that get them going. And I think sports helped me with that a lot, because when I was playing soccer at a high level, right, coming up as captain, you learn how to motivate people, lead the team. And sports definitely helped with that. Another part that's hard about business is when you're first starting up, unless you're getting a trust fund or inheritance or something, you have to make immediate money for the business to survive. Right. And that's hard, especially in technology, because a lot of tech companies, you might hear with like Twitter and all these companies that go raise, but they're not profitable for 6, 7, 8 years. We took a little bit of a different approach, because my mind, when I start something, I'm like, my mind's on the money. Like, where's the money at? Can we make money right away? I didn't start Jobify by raising $8 million and then bringing it to market. I started Jobify with my own money. And then eventually I got some people to put in more money as we kept growing and whatever. But I think a lot of people look at tech companies and say, well, if I don't get $1 million, I can't even start it. And I think that's a wrong approach to it. I think any business, if you can't at least test it in the market and get some proof before raising money, then it's not a real business.
And are you raising money right now for Jobify?
I'm raising money for Pathfinder. Jobify, we're pretty solid. We've raised some money. We're pretty self-sufficient on Jobify's front. For Pathfinder AI, it's just a totally different beast that requires more. So yeah, we're heavily funding that one.
For you to go out there and source people, are you reaching out to people in the States? Are you reaching out to people in Canada? Like, how are you finding people to sponsor your ventures?
Like, to put money in as investors?
Yeah.
Now, because I have some credibility to my name, I'll speak somewhere, I'll meet someone, or someone will see me on LinkedIn, they'll reach out. But so it's a little different. Now I'll see opportunities come to me more so. Like, I've had investors come to me for Pathfinder because I put out one post and I tease it. I'm like, this is what we have coming, boom, boom. And then I'll get them asking me, like, because AI is hot right now. It's a hot market. And I'm seeing companies who are having 25x multiples. So for context, like in tech, sometimes the multiple is 8 to 10, where if your company's making $1 million, then your valuation is $10 million. But with AI right now, I'm seeing some companies valued at 25x. So that's crazy in terms of a multiplier. And we haven't had to do much outreach, but we will. As we go and raise 10 million, 20 million, the crazy numbers, of course, you got to put yourself out there more. But as I said, we're still beta testing it. We're not rushing to take funding. We want the right partners. We're still beta testing, getting sales and building the product fully. So that's still continuing. That's why I can't speak fully on the raising process for that. But if you're a new entrepreneur trying to raise, especially in this market right now, you need to show some revenue. Have a track record of being able to make money, because these investors, it's a tight market and you're going to want to have something to show. Like, if you give me money, this will grow as a business.
Yeah, because we've had some people on here who sort of said the same thing, where like it's hard to meet people and have those people, invest in your company, because like most of the time they're going to say no, right? Because they don't see the value in your product. So as soon as you can see value in your product and you have the growth and the the profitability to show it, I feel like that's probably the best way for...
The best thing you could show is definitely revenue. Every investor I've ever spoken to or know as a friend, it's all revenue, man.
Okay. So what's something that, that you've learned through this process that's helped you grow your business?
Focus on revenue.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get deals pitched to me right now, and I'm still on my own journey. I don't call myself an investor, but I'll get like young kids coming up with their own products, and they'll pitch me like, hey man, I have this thing. Do you want to invest in it? And they're looking for like 25 G's, 40 G's. It's not crazy money, but they just need something to get started. And sometimes I'll consider some of them, but then I'll also give advice to the ones I'm like, you're missing a revenue piece. So I focused on my own businesses. Revenue. We have to make money. I don't care how much good we're doing for the world. If we do not make money and be able to grow the business through revenue, then it's not a business, it's a hobby. So we have to focus on the revenue first. Everything else comes second. And it's not like some evil thing and we're only focused on money, because we've put millions of dollars into our users' pockets, but we wouldn't be able to do that if there's no money to play with.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So are you, I guess, sort of answer the question. So are you more motivated by making money or loving what you're doing? If that, I don't know if that's like too like personal of a question, but a lot of people find that money doesn't matter if you're doing something that you love. Whereas you're sort of flipping it, where you're still doing something you love, but you're motivated on your product based on how much money it's going to be.
Yeah, not being motivated by money is not the same as saying we don't need to go make money. It's two different things. And what I mean by that is we have to go make money to help people that we're helping and also do what we love. So I'm doing what I love, but I think there's a little bit of delusion that goes around, and there's a kumbaya kind of attitude, just a happy-go-lucky attitude of saying, do what you love, everything's going to be okay. I don't approach life that way as a man. I can only speak as a man, and I think through my journey, I've seen you could do what you love. If you're happy doing what you love, cool. But just don't complain if you're not living a lifestyle you don't want, that you're not happy with, right? I think if you're trying to live a certain lifestyle that you want, sometimes you're going to have to do stuff you don't want to do. Like, I love inventing and creating. I love speaking on stage. And now that pays me good money. But before, I had to do other things I didn't want to. I'd take marketing contracts that I didn't really want to go run someone's social media ads and go make a couple grand doing that. But it was paying money to grow my things. So for me, I'm motivated by being... It might sound selfish, but I'm motivated by being great. I do want a legacy. I do want to be known as the guy who solved all these problems, is on stage, speaking, notoriety. I want all of that. I want the young generation to be like, that's the guy who solved all my problems. That guy's a G. Because I know what I'll do with that attention. I know with that attention, I can inspire a lot of people. I could create more products that solve a lot of problems. And with all that, I know it comes at a tremendous sacrifice. I've sacrificed my early 20s, bro. Like a lot of my friends are out partying every weekend, bottle service. I could be traveling just every weekend with chicks, whatever. But I've sacrificed a lot because I know what I'm going for. So I'm motivated by greatness, but coming down to that, it's motivated by what I'm creating for the world. And that's through my businesses. And then on top of that, we have to make money. So I hope I answered that as best as I could.
Yeah, no,
it's kind of tiered.
That's good. Yeah, because listen, I know, like you said, you may come off as selfish, but it's totally reasonable, right? Like, you want to go out there, you want to be somebody, you look up to all these celebrities and athletes and people like that, and, public figures, and they're just good at their job, right? But someone who's made a difference in the world, I feel like is just so much bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said earlier with the door knocking, that one guy, you knocked on however many doors, you saw one guy, and he's the one that said, or gave you a chance, right? And helped you. And that started your path of, whatever career you've built right now. So, for you to remember that one person, and you as a person can inspire, even 10, 100, 1,000 of the youth and like the next generation, I think it's such a good idea, right? Like, there's a difference between, like you said, being selfish and like, only wanting money versus trying to make an impact in the world. So
I think you need both. I don't think with no money you're going to make any impact. I've seen some of the most good for the world types of charities, nonprofits, some friends of mine, but they're all local because they don't have enough resources to expand nationally or continental. But if they had the money, they'd be helping a lot more people. But a lot of the time when people want to do good for the world, they only think, well, I'm just going to do good. I hope the money's going to follow after. And that's okay, right? They'll have an impact on maybe 20, 30 lives, and that's amazing. But for the things I'm trying to create, I want millions of lives impacted. Who's to say we don't end up, we're talking about expanding to the UK. We're talking about going global. So like the impact I want is much greater than just being local. And it depends on what you want. It's
a good vision to have, reach for the moon.
Of course.
Sky's the limit.
You can get one life, man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, everyone has that little thing. And I think that, the fact that you're being successful and you're putting yourself out there and motivating other people is like, that's a reason that I would want to bring you on here, right? Like I said, I love what you're doing because the app that you're doing is creating opportunities for the youth, and
thank you.
No one else is doing that.
Thank you.
So, we're actually almost at the end, funny enough. So I'm going to leave you with one question, and I guess you can cater this to the youth. You can cater this to, the older adults who are watching this, or I guess if the youth are watching it too. What's one piece of advice you would give someone who's looking to start an opportunity?
Like start a business?
Yeah, anything.
One piece of advice I'd give to someone starting a business: be ready for war. Like business is war. It's literally war. And it's modern day war. I'll break that down. Every day I wake up, I know I'm about to head into a battle. There's 18 people text me a problem we have to solve. Because as CEO, if you're starting, and I'm assuming you're CEO or a leadership position, you have a distillation for the worst problems in the company, whether it's on revenue, okay, we have to fix some things here. Whether it's on tech, okay, well, what's going wrong here? Or if it's on expanding the marketing efforts, well, we should tweak this. Like everything's coming to you. There's no line of defense where I could say, yo, what do we do, man? You're the leader. You got to figure it out. So that's what I mean by it's war. And there's always something at your doorstep that you have to be ready to go into battle for. A lot of people might think of business as just something, well, I'm going to have fun doing business. And you will have fun. There's moments of fun. But that other 98%, it's extreme problem solving. It's high pressure, high stress, no excuses. The world doesn't care. It's binary. It's win or lose. And I think if you can approach it from that mindset, you're going to find success. If you approach it from the other mindset, someone's going to come along who's approaching it with this mindset and beat you out of the game because it's competition. The reason we haven't been infiltrated, as far as I know so far, with Jobify, someone else coming along and doing it faster or better than us, is because we move with speed. I'm drill sergeant when it comes to like how I operate the business. Like we got to get stuff done. I don't want to swear. We got to get stuff done. There's no excuses.
This is
like we got to get shit done, man. Like I'm telling people, like there's no time for excuses. The world looks at us and it's either win or lose. No one looks at, well, they lost because he was sick for 2 years. Like no one cares. It's win or lose. Actually, I'm going to tell one story on top of this. We had a competitor. A local competitor who was doing something similar, jobs for teens and young people. They had a 5-year head start on us. Within less than a year, we passed them user base. We passed them in every possible metric because we moved with speed and we moved with diligence and just conviction. There was no excuses. There was no the leaders in the company taking vacations every weekend. There was no inflated salaries going out just for us to fund a lifestyle. It was just high growth speed. So that's how I approach business. I think it's found me a lot of success early on. And anyone starting a business, I would say you need to approach it like that because it's going to be intense.
Man, everything takes time. But again, if you put your head down, you work hard and you try and grow yourself, you're going to succeed. So
yeah, man.
That's it. Well, anyway, thanks, Tony.
Thanks for having me.
No, really appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you and your app online?
We're Jobify on TikTok, just Jobify. Me personally on Instagram, I got Mr. Good Vibes, GG at the end of it. GG is something I've been saying to with the young kids because of gaming. It's like good game.
Yeah.
But it's like an inside like younger person joke. Just hit me up, see what's going on.
Okay. Well, anyway, thanks. Really appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight on Jobify because, like I said, it's something that I found inspiring when we spoke on your podcast, and I know that even for me, like I wish I had that growing up because it was something that never really motivated me, and I feel like
Appreciate it.
It could have at the time. So that's great. Anyway, yeah, thanks
Thank you.
again, and
Thanks for having me.
I guess we'll see everyone next week.